All right, welcome back to the Thor hammer project, part 6. In this tutorial, we're going to kind of finish up the handle here. This is the low poly version of the handle. And so we'll do like a sort of high poly version of this. And it might look very similar in some ways than this, but if I select everything in here and hit the 3 key, you can see how it would look with a little bit of smoothing added to it. And this handle, again, if we look to the Photoshop file, basically has a rounded quality with sort of this V sort of neck. It has a little bit of bolt here at the top and this little knob at the bottom. Again, the individual little details on here I'm not going to worry about because that would be sculpted in Mudbox. But and then we'll do a strap on another lesson for that. So yeah. So as you can see here, this looks pretty good. Now, if I select any part of this in the outliner and hit the F key, it'll kind of frame in on it. So this is the handle. And you can see here I have a rings group. And in that group, you can see here it goes rings handle 1, 2, 3, and so forth, all the way down to 11. And the nice thing is, if you create an object that you're going to duplicate, you really want to name it so that when you duplicate it, you won't have to worry about its transforms, or actually it'll automatically add the numbers in here. So yeah, so let's figure out how to do this with the high resolution version of this. Okay, so we'll keep this nearby just so we can reference it. But the first thing I had to do to create this ring here was to add divisions along here. Now, in the previous tutorial, we created the length and everything and the cap, but we didn't create any divisions along the length of the actual pipe here of the handle. So what I'm going to do is double click on my insert edge loop tool in my custom shelf here. Again, that's under edit mesh, and here, or was it under, I always forget this, mesh tools, sorry, under mesh tools. And here it is here, insert edge loop tool. Again, sometimes it's just kind of tricky to figure out where things are at, but it's in one of these 3 categories here. But here's the insert edge loop tool. And again, to add it to your custom shelf, just hit Control and Shift and click with a left click of the mouse, and you basically add it in there. So what I'm going to do is double click on the tool to open up the options. And I'll go ahead and reset the tool. And basically what I want to do is add multiple edge loops in here. So I'm going to check multiple. And what I found for this particular object, and I believe it'll work the same, but I added 40 divisions here. And if I just click here, you can kind of see the divisions that happen there. And basically what I'm looking for is the width of one of these divisions to equal basically the width of one of these guys here. And so that's pretty much what I got there. Now your handle might be a little bit different, so you just have to, basically trial and error. You can always dial down this value or increase it up to 50 here, divisions. So once I'm done, I can close out, and then make sure you click on the arrow tool to escape out. That'll basically stop the action here. So what I'm going to do now is zoom in here, and I'm going to select a ring here. I'm going to go into face mode just by right-clicking, select face, click on this face, and then double-click on the next one to select the entire ring here that you can see here. And essentially what I want to do is extrude out this face. And so there is that option under Edit Mesh, and here it is down here. It's called Duplicate. And what I'll do is I'll duplicate that face is there. Once I click that, I'll get a little navigator here. And you always want to remember just to grab from the blue. The blue is sort of the normal direction. So I'm just going to pull out a little bit here. And you can see a value here in the Translate Z. So I'll type in maybe 0.02 just to give me a nice round number there. And basically compare it to the other one. It wasn't out that far. Maybe it was a little bit further. Let's try a little bit thicker this time. Maybe 0.03. So again, I'll just dial on that number, 0.03. There we go. And there's my ring. So if I go back to object mode on this ring here, first thing I want to do is delete the history on it. So again, I have my history, freeze, transform, and center pivot here. Again, that's under the modify menu. Here's the freeze transformations, the center pivot, and what's under edit, delete by type, and here's history. So yeah, just remember that's where it's at. Again, I've added those on here, so basically they're ready to go. So yeah, so I'm going to delete the history, cleans out the history here. And I can freeze my transforms. They're already zeroed out, and I can center the pivot here. And what I want to do is isolate this, so I can select this little guy to isolate the ring here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into face mode here and select all these faces. And essentially what I want to do is do an extrude. And again, you can do all this through the modeling toolkit. You can go into face mode and you can click the extrude. Again, I prefer to do everything sort of by hotkey. So basically I'm going to hit Control E. And instead of extruding inwards, or outwards I should say, by grabbing the arrow, I'm going to drag inwards. And let me turn on the visibility again of everything. As I drag inwards, and I obviously want to pierce the geometry a little bit. So if I zoom in here, you can kind of see it piercing through. And I could delete those internal faces, but I'm going to actually, yeah, I mean, there really isn't a need to have those internal faces. So I'm going to go ahead with those selected and actually hit the delete key. And that will save a little bit of memory there. So you can see here that these are black. And what that means is that all the normals are reversed. And so I have the hotkey or in my custom shelf basically to reverse normals here. Again, that's under mesh display, and here it is reverse. So now you can see it's all nice and gray here. And if I hit the 3 key, you can kind of see a preview of what it would look like. It's a very smooth ring. But what I want to essentially do now is go to my top view. So I'm going to tap spacebar, go over here to my top view. And what I essentially want to do is start to create that V shape here. And so I can do that by going into the actual vertex mode. I accidentally went into vertex mode, there we go. And it's these guys here that I'm going to basically draw downwards. But I'm going to do it with some other ones too. So I'm going to, I think, start from like here all the way across to here. And actually, the ring's not quite lined up the way I'd want it to be, but let's try just the 3 middle ones here. There we go. I'm going to hit W, and I'm going to go ahead and grab this and kind of pull this downwards, like so, to about here. And then I'm going to grab just that middle line and bring that down a little bit further to kind of create the V quality. And let's take a look at that shape there. And it looks like it's okay. I might want to add a few more of these guys on the sides to kind of bring them in. So, and this is where it gets a little trickier because of the high divisions of this guy. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in here and I'm going to grab, let's see, these 4 here and rotate around. Actually, I think I can do it. I think I can do it through here. Let's see. So it's these 4. I'll just try it out. Grab those 4 and then hold the shift key and grab these 4. I think it's including those there. And let's see how this would work. And then I kind of bend that downwards a little bit. And then again, you can see these little areas here where it's not quite lined up. So I can shift select these 2 and these 2 and then kind of create that V shape here. So if there is a little bit of overlap, we can kind of fix that as we go in here, but I'm going to go ahead and take a look. You can see there is a little bit of distortion, a little bit of bending that's happening there. But basically, I'm getting that nice V shape overall. Now, if I do want to fix some of these, let me go into object mode and isolate the selection on here and hit the F key on here. Here's a cool little trick to fix some of these verts here. So basically, say I want this inner vert to basically line up with this. I can basically move it up and down like that, and then hold the V key and middle mouse click on this vert. And what that'll do is it'll align it perfectly on there. So if you can see here, now they are both perfectly aligned there. And so basically, this might require a little bit of work, just a little bit of cleanup work in here to kind of align these guys correctly if any of them are really skewed. So like this one here on this side, you can see this vert right here. I kind of want to, you have to grab it and start moving it and then hold the V key and kind of snap to that point there. And so ultimately though, I may end up selecting a couple of these points and kind of moving them down, which I think I'm going to do right here. I'm just going to hold the Shift key and click on these two, hit the W key, and kind of move them because I want a kind of gradual, curve here. And if you ever finding things aren't rotating around correctly, you can hit the F key to kind of rotate around. And you can also do on the back side here. So basically at this point here, I'm going to click on this point and just kind of even it out. Now I'm just basically kind of eyeballing it. And I don't mind if things are a little bit different here because this just will add to interest in terms of it being a little bit more organic in terms of its craft, how it was constructed. And I'm okay with that. But yeah, basically I'm going to go through and maybe these guys here, I'm thinking these two I would bring down just a little bit and kind of even out that curve there. And there we go. Let's kind of smooth that out. And then this point here, I can start to move it. Then again, hold the V key to snap to that point there. And now you can see I've got the same thickness as it goes around. And I don't know, that's looking pretty good overall for this shape on this side. And then, yeah. Just looking around here and see. I think I kind of like this part more than this. So here's a trick I'm going to show you that you can do. I'm going to go to the top view here. And I'm going to go, let me go into object mode first. Select the object, go to top view here. And I'm going to isolate this again. And this time, what I'm going to do is select the parts that I like, and then I'll know which parts to get rid of. Essentially, what I want to keep is this part here, from here to here to here, and you can see it in here from the top view. And so one way you can do this, I like that part right there, yeah. You can hold the Shift key and drag across the rest, and that will kind of flip your selection. See that? So now I can delete the rest, and then I can use this piece of geometry here to duplicate and mirror across it once I like it, basically, if it's perfect. And it's almost there. I feel like, one little piece here I might bring down just a smidge here. And let me see how it looks without isolation here. Again, just thinking about this one piece of geometry here. So I like it curved around here. Right in here, I'm not quite sure. I think I kind of want this guy to maybe go up a little bit. So I'm going to select these two verts and just move them, nudge them a little bit, just so it smooths out a little bit as it comes around. And maybe this guy bring down a little bit, make it a little bit narrower there, but I think that looks pretty good. So let me go ahead and go back to object mode on this. And so let's isolate this, and we'll frame in on it, and basically we'll kind of get this thing started here. So the trick with mirroring with this object is we have to be on the center of the grid here. And so if I add a cube here, you can see this is the center here. So that is essentially where I want this piece of geometry to be at. So I can bring it across here, and I can do that through snap to grid, which is this guy here. And so I can basically snap to that grid, and now that guy is right there on the center point. Okay, and I can uncheck the snap to grid. And so what I'm going to do now is, you can see here we're going to basically mirror across the geometry here in the X direction. And so the way to do this is delete history, freeze transforms, and I can leave the pivot where it is right now. And basically I'm going to mirror across. So let's see how we can do that. We can go into mesh. So here is the mirror. I'm going to go to the options here. And let's see. We're basically going to want to mirror the object in the X, the positive. So this is the positive direction, the negative would be the other side. And we want to merge the vertices, and let's go ahead and click apply. And you can see now we have a perfect merge version here. So, and we can tell that because I have border creases on, so I can see, you know, the edge along here, and that looks really good. So if I unisolate here for a sec, you can see, well, yeah, I'd have to bring everything back, but I'll hit number 4. You can kind of see now that basically this is one side of this thing here. So let me isolate this again, hit number 5. So now to bring it back to the other side, we select the object again, hit W. This time we're going to mirror in the Y direction, right? So Y goes up, so we have X here and Z here, and Y is the other direction essentially, because we want to mirror across it. And we want to go in the negative, because wherever the arrow is, that's the positive. So I choose Y here, and I click in here and choose negative, and then I click apply. And just like that, I now have a perfect ring that is mirrored across. So it's actually, you know, not too difficult to do. You know, once you got your shape there that you like. And if there's any, you know, weird kind of issues, it'll happen all the way around, which is kind of interesting. But I think, you know, there is a little bit of divots along here that could be a little bit better, but I feel like overall it's not bad. So let's go ahead and hit W on that. And I'm going to go ahead and bring it out again and have a look at it on the handle here. And the reason why this, you know, was a little bit more time consuming is because the idea that basically this is much higher res. I could have worked with a lot less resolution. Actually, these guys were much easier to create because of it. The only thing I don't like about the shape is right in the middle here on the sides. So there's a dipping that happens right here. So again, I'm going to isolate this, and it's just this guy right here. It almost looks like it might be these two endpoints here. So I'm going to hold the Shift key and click on that one too. So I can do both at the same time and just kind of pull back a little bit. Yeah, that looks pretty good now. So now I'm going to again unisolate and take another look. I just want to make sure, again, it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but I want it to be in pretty good shape. And that looks pretty good now. Okay, so last thing I want to do, if I hit number 3 on this, you'll see it gets kind of a little bit too wobbly, too rounded. And I want it to be a little bit sharper and crisper like this. So we essentially need to add a few divisions here. So I'm going to hit number 1 again on this. And I'm going to add 2 divisions on each side and maybe 2 on the face here. And so I can do that, close out the mirror option. I can do that by double clicking on the Insert Edge Loop tool. And again, use multiple, but this time change 40 to 2. So I'm going to go ahead and click here for the 2. And then I'm going to click here. And then I'm going to click on the inside here. And so that'll just give a little more structure here. Go back to object mode, and now when I hit number 3, it rounds it off a little bit. And now, actually, I think I am going to add, just to give it a little more crispness, I'm going to add individual ones in here. So I'm going to double click on the tool and choose this relative distance from edge so that I have a little more control. I'm going to add one right. I'm going to kind of bring it up and get real kind of tight there. Basically want the 2 on each side, the face, just to be a little bit crisper right there. So let me check how this looks. Go ahead and go click on the arrow to escape out, go to object mode, and then hit number 3. And that looks pretty good overall in terms of the firmness stuff. Now I want this corner maybe to be a little bit sharper. And so what I'd have to do to create that is I'd have to add an edge loop on each of these sides. So I will do that here. I'll just kind of grab an edge loop right here, an edge loop right here, and then basically repeat that action on the other side. So an edge loop here, an edge loop here, and that's the main thing. Let's click out, go back to object mode, select it, hit number 3, take a look. Yeah, I'm starting to dig this. I could finesse this a little bit more, but I think overall that looks pretty good for a nice high-res version of this.